My Love of Life Energy is a podcast created by Anna Scott. Anna knows that every human being sees life uniquely. In this podcast, she will talk to people and learn from them. These conversations are to shine the brilliance of each human being she speaks to. Join her. After each exploration, you will expand on your insights and see truth and beauty.
Welcome. This is season 2 of Anna Scott's My Love of Life Energy. And today I have just a great honor of interviewing Jason Shiers. And have you ever felt like you know somebody so deeply, but you know nothing about them? That's how I feel about Jason. And I'm so thrilled that you're willing to talk to me for this time. So welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, looking forward to whatever we're going to talk about. I don't know what that is, but I'm still looking forward to
it. We met because of Michael Neill's programs, Super Coach, and the Genius Catalyst is where we really met. I'm curious, how did you stumble across this work?
How far do you want to go? I mean, I guess I'd spent a lifetime of searching, from the depths of despair, through to some physical recovery, but not really much mental recovery, from drug addiction into personal development. And I was just trying to find my way in the world, I guess, and trying to find some peace of mind and something that was more useful for helping people, the people that I was around, because I'd been in the helping professions, as a psychotherapist for a long time and working with people with addictions and mental health. And, either by chance or really not by chance, nothing to do with chance, everything to do with the universe or life or mind guiding me. I was pirating a video of Michael Neill's and the only way I could pirate it was to watch it. I had to screen record it. It was the only way that I had to actually play it at its normal play speed and have the audio playing at its normal volume so I could record it and I could share it with these personal development group that I was in, this WhatsApp group of personal development people. And it was called The Path of Effortless Change. And I just found myself mesmerized by it unknowingly, like completely unexpectedly, just listening to it as I was recording it, thinking, I don't know what this guy's saying, but there's something about what he's saying that's really, really important to know. And I just always had a sense of that from the very first time I heard it. And yeah, it was definitely a life-changing sense for sure,
You saw something, and I don't know what it is. I know you work in, you're kind of like a thought leader in the whole drug and recovery, and you really saw something about the principles and how it applies to addiction. Do you mind sharing that, what you've seen? Because I know you've been addicted too, right? Or you've struggled with it? Again, this is where I go, I know you, Jason, but I don't know you.
Yeah. That's okay. I saw the innocence, of addiction. I saw beyond psychological concepts and disease concepts and 12-step techniques and practices to be okay. That's what I saw because I'd been in that world of practicing techniques and unraveling the past and believing you had to go to meetings to be okay. I saw that all that was innocent and unneeded. It wasn't needed because we weren't broken, we weren't damaged, we weren't diseased. We didn't need practices to be okay. And when I say we, I mean me. I didn't need those things because I was doing those things in order to try and be okay. And I realized that addiction it makes complete sense. It went from looking like an affliction or some unexplainable phenomena, that no one could explain why you had it. Somehow it was about trauma, somehow it was hereditary, somehow it was genetic, somehow it was about the past, somehow it was about your experience or your learned way of coping. but no one could really say what it was. You know, it was this unexplainable phenomena that you, once you'd crossed the line, you know, you couldn't go back. And I just saw the complete innocence of that. I just saw that, like, well, actually, you know, if you're creating a shitty life for yourself using your own thinking on a daily basis, then it makes complete sense that you're also going to find an escape from the shitty life that you're creating.
Oh, wow.
Everything's working exactly as it's meant to work. You know, it's like the mind has its way of self-regulating. You know, it may not be socially acceptable. It may not look like a good thing to do to society, but like, of course, what else is going to happen if you keep thinking shitty thoughts about yourself all day long? You're either going to have a psychotic episode, a mental breakdown, or you're going to commit suicide. You know, it's like one of those three things going to happen. So taking something, doing something, escaping in drugs, alcohol, sex, pornography, food, money, debt, the gym, whatever it is, makes complete sense. And that's what I saw, you know.
Oh my God. Jason, I don't think I've ever seen it till right now. What you're saying is, so you people with the gift of thought, with the gift of what this capacity, they think all these shitty thinking and they create it and they don't know that they've created. So then they want to get away from what they've created.
Yeah.
And they start doing, oh my God. That's mind blowing.
Yeah, nobody know. No, people don't know. People innocently use the gift of thought to create. I mean, like, there's all sorts of creations with the gift of thought, right? There's the creation of the story of me, you know, the story of me as the victim, the story of me as the sufferer of trauma, the story of me as the survivor, you know, the story of me as the successful businessman, the story of me as the person who can never get it right, you know. And it's like, I'm telling this story to myself and to everyone else that asks me, who are you, on a daily basis, and I'm living in it. That's why I'm living in my own head. I'm living in the story. I'm living in the movie or the video game that's going on in my head. I'm not here. I'm not present. I'm never in the present moment where all the things that I'm trying to find in the outside world are, you know, the search for happiness, the search for contentment, for joy, for peace of mind in things, in people, in processes, in drugs, in alcohol, in sex, money, success, status, you know, property and prestige is only available in the present moment. So like, by falling out of my own thinking and becoming present in the moment, I experience everything that I'd search for in every other way, you know.
Oh my God, Jason. What I can feel with you, and I guess this is where I say, like, I feel you when we met, is I feel this aliveness and this love in you. Like when you drop into the present, that's this aliveness, this love.
Yeah. I just spent so long, you know, like living with a need to escape from what it was I was living in, you know, just like even 2 decades after stopping drugs and alcohol, you know, like 2 decades of recovery, 2 decades of personal development, of psychotherapy, 10 years of therapy, like personal therapy, as well as practicing as a therapist, all the things, all of Tony Robbins's courses, everything, you know. It's kind of like I was still living life in my own mind, you know. I was still like, so I have real empathy for for anyone in that, living in that life, you know, or struggling.
Oh my God. I didn't know that you did all of Tony Robbins stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know why that one, but like all of that work, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was all an innocent attempt to transcend the life that I thought I had in my own mind. Like, it really looked like there was like double-edged sword, right? And I mean, it doesn't matter if you're chasing success as a business or entrepreneur, status as a politician, or if you're taking drugs and alcohol, they're all the same thing, right? They're all exactly the same thing. They're all trying to develop or escape from this ego, this idea of who we think we are, right? To either better it if it looks like that's something you can do to get more of something, or to get away from it if it looks like it's really bad. But the point of it is that it's all a created story. None of it's true about none of it's who we are, none of it's our true nature, none of it's our spiritual essence.
So the thing that I love to do more than anything is remind people who they are. And I mean, to me, it's like if you remind people who they are, it takes care of everything down the street.
Yeah.
Once they really feel it. Do you see that? If people really see it?
Well, it's like something that they have a felt experience of, like when someone has that experiential moment, of just being present with knowing the truth of who they are, and has transcended or seen beyond their own thinking, their own story. The volume has gone down on the thinking about self. It's like that present moment is etched in someone's soul. They can't forget about that. They can't forget about that experience of presence that they had. And it's like that. I don't think it's so clear for people. Oh, this is exactly who I am at first, but they remember the feeling, right, of presence. They remember the feeling of the realization of who they are, even if they can't put intellectual words to it. They just know the feeling of it.
Wow. It must be radical for you to, like with the drug modalities or the addiction modalities, recovery, what you're speaking to is radical.
It's lucky that I've got a rebellious streak and a love of upsetting people. Not really, like I love to help people, but like in the world of psychology where it's the double-edged sword, right? Because for all the people suffering and struggling, they've made up an idea, a story of themselves, and they've attached their identity to it, in the same way that everyone in the psychological world of change has also made up a story and attached their identity to their concept, to their theory about change, so there's always a challenge in sharing this with people who are somewhat professional, by title in the world of addiction and change, particularly in the world of psychiatry and psychology, because they're very much attached to their theories and their concepts about what's wrong with people, what's broken. And it's quite new to come and say, well, actually, addiction makes perfect sense. Of course it does. Look, you can look at it so simply in this way, because they're really attached to the idea that people are broken, people are damaged, people have mental illness, that's unexplainable. So yeah, definitely it's radical for sure.
I'm sorry, I just feel like an explosion just went off on me. Is when you said it's so simple, it makes sense. That's what's so radical.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is so simple, and it does make sense based on what we believe.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like you're telling people that the earth is round and not flat.
You know what? I even put that quote on my addiction program, I think, or somewhere on one of my websites, where it said, it's in my book, it's in my workbook for my addiction program. People used to think the world was flat, until someone sailed to the edge and realized it was round. It's kind of like that. That's exactly what I'm saying, and that's been at the forefront of my mind in a long time. That everyone will argue, no, you'll fall over the edge. It's kind of like, no, the earth is flat, it's not round. Of course they will.
So how do you, not the how, because that's not, I mean, it's so simple and the implications are massive. I mean, this group of people I would think would be hungry to see something like this. Is that true?
I don't think there's one answer to that. It depends. There's some highly intellectual addicts. I don't like the word addicts. I just use the word addict. I don't like the label, but like people who are struggling. And there's some people that are open and willing to hear something new, like almost straight away. And I guess the people that, like me, I'd been through, I talk about this where I had these moments of thinking that like me, I guess, there's people that think they know something. There's people that think they know something about change. There's people that think they know something about psychology. There's people who think they know something about mental illness, and it's like they listen to you with this combative attitude to finding out what's wrong in what you're saying, so it can be challenging in George Pransky uses the term like softening people up, and and I like that because I'm quite good at that now. I used to be like the opposite, but now I'm quite good at that. I see how that works. I saw how it worked for me. I can see how the intellect can get in the way of people hearing something that really makes it. People are their own worst enemy. The intellect can be the very thing that stops you from hearing something that's going to be life-changing.
How do you soften people up? I've never heard that. I love that. Will you say more about that?
Yeah, it's like, it's really, I guess if you had to turn it into a process, it's really about not trying to teach something to somebody before you've got like the connection, the presence with them, and you'll know when that is, you can feel that with people. It's like they actually invite you, like into a conversation that could be transformative. Whereas like, I guess in the past, I was a bit more like a steamroller. I'm like, hey, listen, I don't give a shit about what you've got to say. Let me listen to me, I've got the solutions. And it's like you can just feel people soften, right? When you're present with them, when you really listen to them. I mean, you're great at this. You're great at listening. I've witnessed it. I've felt it. When you really listen to people, when you really sit with them and be curious about who they are, you put all your shit aside, you put everything and about what you think they need, about what you think they need to know, about how you think they need to change. You put all that shit aside, and it's like you just get present and really hear and be curious about someone. They invite you to offer them something. They give you an opportunity to share something with them that's going to be life-changing always,
Oh my God, Jason. I can feel when you say that, the truth of it. Especially, I mean, coming from you, because I've known you as a hard ass at times, and I mean that in the most loving, but I see that you see the power of that, the power of being present with another human being. The gift of that.
It's not difficult, right? I mean, like, because how magical is it to be with somebody as they see something, as they realize something about themselves. Even just now, before, in a podcast that I recorded with someone, one of the people in the podcast, it wasn't a client or anything, but at the end she said, oh, I really saw something in that recording about listening, about how I listen. And it was just like such a, oh wow, how beautiful to be able to just share something in the moment that could make a difference to someone's life,
But there's something you just said that I think is a drive-by and people don't get. It's watching somebody else see something. Say more about that.
Yeah, it's like it's very, I mean, it's very different to traditional psychological approaches, right? And ideas. It's like just in conversation, people will always invite you to ask them a question about something, to ask if something is true or whatever it is that flows in wherever the conversation goes. And it's like, and you can just see someone like turn their head sideways or go quiet, or go silent, and it's kind of like, and they start backtracking on what they said or something like that, and it's like you can start to see them where they have this confusion about what they believed is true. They believed that something is true about themselves or about the world, and you can see it start to unravel in their own mind, how it start to unfold, that like, oh, they held a belief or an idea about something that was keeping them stuck or suffering, or struggling. And it's like, and that is, you could actually see someone visibly or physically lighten up. You can see, like, if you could like metaphorically measure it, you could see a weight of the world being lifted off the shoulders, of somebody. You can see them lighten up. You can see their posture change. And it makes sense, because if you've lived like in your head, your senses are kind of asleep. Your senses are dead. Your senses are dulled, and as you come into the present moment, you start to notice more about people, about the world, about colors and smells and tastes and visuals. It's like you start to see that. So you can really see that happening with people when they notice something, when they hear something that makes a difference.
Wow. But you love watching that.
I love seeing that. Yeah, I love being part of, just being present to that. Being witness to that.
What is it about that you love?
It's a good question. It's like a magical feeling in me, like to see somebody experience the world differently from something that they thought was so solid, so fixed, so bad. It's like to see another human being, to be in the presence of another human being having that experience. It's just like everything about being alive, like it feels like that's the whole purpose of life, just being alive and being present and with another human being,
Oh,
like
wow.
really present,
It feels like watching the lights come on, like a light show. When you said that, it felt like a light show coming on, like you're watching their lights turn on.
Yeah.
I had never thought about the senses, like to drop out of your thinking that your senses become alive.
Yeah. And like sometimes you see it, but they don't. It's kind of like I don't know if you've had this, but like I've had people. I had a conversation with someone, and I've gone back to them a week or something later, or a week or two, and they're like, "Hey, what happened with that problem that you were having?" They're going, "Oh, that problem. Yeah, I don't know what happened to that, but it just seems to have disappeared now." It's kind of like, it just went away, and it's kind of like, and you think, "Oh, yeah, how cool," It's kind of like, but so. Just to see that, is it cool? Even if they didn't really see exactly what happened, but they're living a more joyful, more freer existence,
Oh my God. I do. I feel like I have to go back to what you said about the senses.
Yeah.
It feels like when you get present, like somebody runs around and starts turning on all the senses. Like I could see this little man inside the body. Okay, time to turn on smelling. Okay, time to turn on feeling and taste.
Yeah, I remember sitting in an Airbnb in Woodland Hills, when I went to first intensive with Michael, at the end of it, feeling so calm and peaceful and joyful for the very first time. And I was thinking that nothing's changed in my life circumstantially. No more money has gone in the bank, haven't got a new relationship, didn't lose weight, didn't get new clients in my business, all the things that I thought prior to that I needed to be happy. And I was sat on this little, one of those bench rope swings where you can sit two people on it and they just kind of swing the little hood. And I was sat on one of those, and there was this green valley out the back. And I was just sat there looking, feeling so calm and noticing the birds and nature and everything around me. And I was thinking, shit, like I haven't seen this before. You know, I really hadn't seen it. It's like I'd spent my whole life living in my head. I'd been everywhere, but I'd not been anywhere, you know, because I'd just spent the whole time wherever I was going in my mind about problems, about this, about that, about losing weight, about more money, about new relationships, about debt, about finance. I was always somewhere in my head. I was always in the past or the future. I was never here in the moment, you know, experiencing life. And it was like waking up for the first time. And it's exactly like you were saying about the senses. Of course, it makes complete sense that the senses come alive in that moment, because you come into the present moment, you start to notice things around you, smell things and taste things, whereas all you've done before is you've been present in the physical body, but like as for being present in the mind, you know, it's kind of like I was always somewhere else, you know.
Oh my God, Jason. That description, it takes my breath away, because it also makes it simple. Like Dickon always says, there's one problem: we believe our thinking, and when we fall out of it. But it's so clear to me how much people are living in their thinking.
Yeah. And it's way too simple, right? I mean, it's kind of like way too simple for complex minds like our intellectual minds, you know. It's kind of like, can't be that easy, can it?
I know that's the biggest. People always say, I had a guy I worked with, and he thought he was coming in to do videos. He was an older gentleman, and he, after an intensive weekend, he goes, okay, I don't know what happened. And he tried to explain it. And then when we were doing our final second session after it, he goes, okay, well, I didn't get my videos. But he had reported he'd had the best trip of his life to Hawaii and how he'd fallen in love with his wife again. I'm like, I don't think you came in for videos. No. Like we just, there's so much in our head, and it's so simple. I'm curious, how has this, seeing this, how has it impacted your relationships?
Yeah, I guess that I was thinking about this before, you know, that I always had an impact on people, you know, and you could say it was for the wrong reasons before and for the right reasons now. That like I had a very dark energy about myself, so people noticed me, you know, before, about how miserable I was and how introverted and how you know, in myself I was. You know, it was a strong energy that people noticed. And now it's kind of the opposite way, where people are more curious to speak to me more and more, you know, like more connected to people. So that's kind of like.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. You just, but oh my God. Your energy is so strong and so beautiful. It's just, you don't have all the thinking now.
Yeah.
And it's, you remember how I said your heart? Sorry, I just am like.
No. I noticed that. Yeah, I noticed that because I don't believe the story anymore. I'm not living in the story of me anymore. It's not like, oh God, no one's going to like me. God, I'm socially anxious. I don't like people. I'd rather not be. I don't have that anymore. You know, I'm curious about people. It's great to meet new people. I love to catch the eye of another person that I've never met before and speak to them. It's like, whereas before, that would be my worst nightmare. Please, nobody look at me. You know, it's kind of like, whatever you do, I don't want to speak to somebody new, because that will be a horrific experience. Whereas now it's kind of like, I love that experience. So relationships have really grown and changed and blossomed, and old relationships have fallen away and disappeared. Ones where things didn't feel right, or, you know, I'm more than willing to be bold in the world and kind of say fuck you, you know, like, to things I don't want, and welcome things that I do, you know, just be really dropping out of social norms and moral not my own moral values, other people's, what I should do and what I shouldn't do, and so on and stuff like that in relationships. So it's really made a difference to how I connect with people, I guess.
Well, I've watched it. I've watched you fall madly in love.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Okay, we are coming to the end, and I just can't thank you enough. How do people find you? How do they connect with you? Because you have something really important to share.
Yeah. My website is wideworldcoaching.com, and on there you can find the podcast, which is misunderstandingsofthemind.com. It's got its own domain as well. But that's, if you want to hear more about what we're talking about, there's 40 episodes now, almost, I think, of different conversations, all looking in this direction of our true nature and beyond our own thinking about ourselves.
Wonderful. It'll all be on the bio. And I can't thank you enough, Jason.
Awesome.
Loved it.
Thank you.